Hello, thank you for joining us today to learn about the annual Rhoden Street Financial Report. My name is Layla Kral, and I'm the Deputy Administrator of the Local Highway Technical Assistance Council. This is our team at LTAC. We are located in Boise. However, you've probably seen many of us traveling across the state for projects, conferences, or workshops. This is the Rhoden Street support team. Many of you probably knew Susan Lesuin, our previous administrative manager. Since she left in November, the three of us together have worked together to pick up the support for the Rhoden Street report. As I mentioned, I'm the deputy administrator. Mike Cram in the middle is our financial officer, and over the next year to two, he will be learning more about the Rhoden Street support and become your go-to contact. Don Christensen on the right has led the efforts to do our House Bill 312 report and collect the page 3 from the Rhoden Street report the past few years. You may have been contacted by her in the past regarding that, and she will continue to help with that report. A little overview of how we came to filing the annual Rhoden Street report. It is required by Idaho Code 40-708, and it is a certification of your road fund disbursements each year. The report is due to the State Controller's Office by December 31st. There are 4 quarterly highway distribution account or HDA disbursements a year: October, January, April, and July. And many of you probably know or may know, but if the report is not submitted by December 31st, your quarterly payment will not be made, and they will be held back until that report is completed and submitted through the State Controller's Office. What is the highway distribution account? I get this question quite often. It is the fund where gas tax, registration fees, truck permits, etc. all come into, and then it's dispersed out of there. Locals get about 38% of the total highway distribution account. The remaining goes to primarily the Idaho Transportation Department, and a little bit still goes to the Idaho State Police. However, they are being phased out of the highway distribution account. Of the portion that comes to the locals, I have included the flow chart that is from the ITD webpage showing how those funds are dispersed. Cities get 30% of the local share, and they are distributed to the cities based on purely population. The remaining 70% of the local share goes to counties and highway districts, and their funds are distributed based on the same formula. 10% is equally divided between all counties and highway districts. 45% is distributed based upon motor vehicle registration revenue. So where the registration address is for each motor vehicle, and 45% is based upon your improved road mileage. And that comes from the local road inventory that is completed every year by every highway jurisdiction in the state. How much does my jurisdiction get? Great question. This information can be found on ITD's webpage. I have included their webpage at the top. Once you get to their landing page, you would want to select in the middle bottom box under ITD projects, there's a button for project funding. If you select that, this pops up and you can see that second option is advisory boards, local roads, MPOs, and revenue. So that is the selection you would want to make on that drop-down menu. Once to this page, you can see those other options across the top in the green buttons. There's a few things to point out on this page. First, under highway distribution account, the top, you can see current quarterly distribution from the highway distribution account. So if you select that, that will tell you what the most recent quarter distribution was for every local highway jurisdiction, city, county, or highway district in the state. Also, a couple options down, you can look back at previous years and see total payments to every city, county, highway district in the state. When you select one of those options, the list will populate in a PDF, and it goes, I believe, county, then highway districts, and cities. So you will need to scroll a little bit down to reach the point where it talks about cities. As you can see, you can look per quarter, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter total. That information is all here, and we'll talk about it a little later, but if you scroll farther down, it will give you your House Bill 312 distribution. So what we're looking at here is just your straight original highway distribution account distribution. There's some other resources and information available on our website, lhtac.org. Along the top bar, there's a button for resources, and then you can click the very top one, which is the annual Rhoden Street Financial Report. It will take you to this page. The page will be updated once this is recorded and posted. However, we do have previous recordings of annual Rhoden Street Report training posted on our website. We also have line-by-line directions, which I have included in the chat pod. I recommend everyone print these out and keep these with you when completing your Rhoden Street report, as it really tells you what information should be included line by line. Other information, the Excel form. It's highly recommended that you fill out the paper copy of the Rhoden Street report before submitting online, so I recommend everyone grab that as well. We have other resources available, and we always post the distributions that ITD post as well. So we pull those in to our website and post them for a quick and easy place for you to find them as well. The annual Rhoden Street report should be filed electronically. You may still submit a paper copy, however, the state really prefers the electronic filing. Their landing page tells you what you will need to get started on your report. One good thing about using the electronic submission is it does your math for you, so you can make sure at the end that you're following that real zero-based budget and have no carryover funds at the end. On to the report. So I break it down to really 4 main sections. There's the local agency information, the receipts, disbursements, and page 3. Local agency information. So this contact information is really important. If we ever do need to contact you or circle back around because something seems off about your reporting, this is the information we have to contact you. Also, it's important that it is signed by a commissioner, even if you're keeping that paper copy back at the office for yourself. If somebody ever does come for the audit, you want that to be signed by your commissioner. And then your beginning balance should be the same as your closing balance the year before. Section 1 of the report is for receipts. Where is the money coming from? Really 3 main sources: local funding sources, state funding sources, and federal funding sources. The next section of the report, section 1, would be the receipts. This is where you will list all funds coming in to your highway road account. Line 2, property tax levy. Primarily, this is the largest local funding source for highway jurisdictions. Any general fund property tax revenues used to support streets and bridges should be listed on line 5 as a fund transfer from non-highway accounts. Line 5, fund transfers from non-highway accounts. This is usually used when there's money transferred from the general fund to pay for above and beyond regularly budgeted costs. So, for example, a really big snow year, you might have general fund transfers in to help pay for that snow removal cost. Line 8, local impact fees for those who are able to collect them. That is where you would put that. And same for line 9 for, as of now, the one highway district that is allowed to collect a local option registration fee. That is the line they put their funds on. For state funding sources, line 12, highway user revenue, this is your highway distribution account revenue. So again, you can always go back to those reports on ITD's page to make sure you're reporting that accurately. Line 15, state exchange funds. These are specific to LRIP funds from LTAC grants, or previously if you had LSI, Local Strategic Initiative grant funds. be for such funds as Idaho Office of Emergency Management funds or similar that you would have received. And then the bottom section, federal funding sources, for those that receive Secure Rural Schools, or sometimes called Craig Wyden funds, that's where you would put that. For the federal aid lines, bridge, rural, urban, that is the amount you receive for when you have a federal aid project and you pay the consultant on their monthly bills and seek reimbursement from ITD for that. Just that reimbursement revenue would be listed under those lines depending on which type of project you have. One good thing to point out, and I'll keep reminding you, if you are doing this electronically, submitting electronically, as you input these values, they will automatically total onto the total funding lines and then carry all the way down to line 24, which is the total receipts from lines 11, 17, and 23. The next section is the disbursement. How is the money being spent? And there are quite a few sections under here that we will talk about as well. Now on to the next section, which is disbursements. The top section, lines 25 through 28, are for new construction. This is new roadway or new bridge where one did not exist before. New alignment, new lanes, something along those lines. This is not rehab or maintenance of an existing roadway. As you can see in the note, and it's very clear in the line-by-line instructions as well, when doing disbursements, when reporting disbursements for these top sections, you will include salary and benefits on those lines. So if your own crew is building a new roadway alignment, you would include their salary benefit cost for that disbursement or that cost. Reconstruction, replacement, rehabilitation. Again, you would include salary and benefits on those lines, and this would be for repair, replacement of the pavement or bridge system. And then routine maintenance is the work necessary to maintain a roadway as originally constructed. This is more the minor maintenance type work that is being completed. Chip sealing, some regular routine maintenance that you would do every year or every few years, like chip sealing, patching, etc. Moving on to equipment, the equipment purchase would be the cost of purchasing that equipment, that new equipment. And you can see that there is a purchase cost, a lease to purchase cost, and then equipment maintenance cost. And then administration, as you can see from line 47, this is kind of the catch-all for the rest of the cost to your agency. So if you have a clerk or treasurer, administration staff that are doing work that cannot be billed to a project type as listed above, if you have lease for a building, utilities, etc., all of that cost would fall under this administration task of administrative salaries and expenses. Continuing on, you can see that line 61 will total all of your disbursements from the previous sections. A couple other things to note, line 63, other adjustments. This could be an audit adjustment that's recommended by your auditor. And then line 64 will bring your previous year's balance, your receipts over disbursements, and your other adjustments forward. Line 64 can be zero, but cannot be a negative number. Your closing balance could not be negative. Line 65 is very important. Line 67, the goal is for this to be zero. It must be zero for a lot of reasons. One, this report is published, the ITD reports that we've previously looked at. And if there's a bunch of money left over from local jurisdictions on that ending balance, it appears that there's enough money to complete projects. So one way to get that back to zero is on line 65 and 66. Line 65 are funds reserved for future projects. And that can be saving for a federal aid match or to complete your own roadway project. And then line 66 is funds retained for general operations. Many auditors suggest 3, 4, 5 months being reserved for future operations. So between line 65 and 66, that should be able to account for your entire closing balance to make your ending balance 0. Now on to page 3. The entire page 3 is for Ltch Use. And if you are filling this out electronically, you will note that there is a separate link to complete page 3. The top section helps us report the work that is done each year. Line 68 is total lane miles constructed with funds from line 25. So 1 mile of a 4-lane road equals 4 lane miles. Line 69 is for bridge deck construction. And again, this should line up with line 26, the work that is completed with what you spent for line 26. Same for 70 and 71. This is reconstruction, replacement, rehab. Again, this is lane miles of roadway. So 1 mile of 4-lane road would be 4 lane miles. Line 70 corresponds to funds from line 30, and line 71 corresponds to funds from line 31. For routine maintenance, the one thing I want to point out is on line 73, total lane miles graded or bladed. This is grading of a road. It is not winter maintenance. So you would not report how many miles of road you plowed. This would be lane miles of road that you graded, most likely for drainage. Really important to note there. Line 74 is the money associated with line 65 from page 2. So this is what are you saving funds for? What projects are you saving funds for? So again, if you are saving for match on federal aid, you would list that project name, the year that you will need it, and then the projected cost. Or if you're saving to build a building or purchase equipment, this is where you could list those costs. The bottom part of page 3 corresponds to House Bill 312. House Bill 312 was passed in 2015 and was the last major revenue enhancement for local jurisdictions. This is that increased gas tax and registration fees that have been in place since then. And with the distribution of those funds comes some reporting that is required per House Bill 312 legislative intent. The legislative intent asks, how is this money being spent? And that the money must be spent for maintenance. The math on this is really important. So what you are receiving should match what you are reporting on this part of the report. Also, how is the money spent, including if it's saved for or went towards a larger project? Ltch has to report on how all of these dollars are spent. So we've broken it into some main categories. The other big item is the deferred maintenance over the last 5 years. Again, that is asked for in the legislative intent of House Bill 312. As a reminder, to look at how much you received for House Bill 312, you could look at the last completed year of HDA payments. And if you scroll to the bottom, past all the regular disbursements, you will get to this part that breaks out House Bill 312. So you'd want to go check this dollar amount under the total to report on page 3 of your Road and Street report. This is what that section of the report looks like. So again, that line 77 would come from that previous report we just looked at from the ITD webpage. Lines 78 through 83 break down the most common types of maintenance that we've seen and that has been reported, and then how much you've spent on each of those items. If you'd like a description of work, you can add that as well. So if you want to do rehabilitation of road and $35,000, and then description of work, you could put First Street or, these 3 blocks, etc. Also, line 84 gives you a catch-all for any maintenance that's not listed above. Total amount spent on maintenance or replacement should total up to the same amount as on line 77. Those two dollar amounts should be the same. If it's not, you will most likely get a phone call from us when we are compiling this report. And then again, line 85 is deferred maintenance cost over the last 5 years. We are asked to report this, and it's important that all local jurisdictions are reporting something for this. The deferred maintenance can come from a number of places. One, your road supervisor may just have a good idea of what that is. You can look at your capital improvement plan and see if there are things that have been delayed or deferred due to lack of funding. If there are projects on your books that you haven't been able to get done because of lack of funding, those things would all come here into your last 5 years of deferred maintenance. And really, I want to end with making sure you're all aware that we are here to help. Again, our website, lhtac.org. Along the top is the resources button, and then you can select annual Road and Street report. There's really a lot of information here. Again, we will probably post this recording here and keep the previous recordings up that Susan has completed in the past few years. So you can look at the links that you can see here on the page. They will give you a line-by-line breakdown of the information required in the Road and Street report. I should add, Susan had a really strong accounting background. That is not my background, but I have been with LTAC for quite some time and have been here to listen to this presentation in the past and have helped locals in answering some of these questions in the past. I am happy to help answer any questions that come up after hearing this. I think the discussion and the questions will be the best way to help clear up any confusion. And I promise that if I don't know the answers to any of the questions, I will find them and get back to you personally to make sure that you get the information you need to accurately submit your Road and Street report. This page shows my contact information. Everyone at LTAC has the same phone number, direct line to the office. So if you ever need to call any of us, please don't hesitate. That phone number is 208-344-0565. That is my email. All of our contact information is on the website as well, including emails, phone numbers, and cell phone numbers for quite a few of our staff. Thank you so much for listening today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.